Hi again. We are ready for plying now. I have 2 spindles. They're not full, but I just wanted to get to the point where I could show you how I do my plying. So again, this is Crucio, and I think it's Shetland. I think I've said it's Falkland before. I think I've said it's Shetland. I think it's Shetland. Anyway, this is Crucio colorway by Supernatural Yarns, and I've got enough on my 2 Gouldings here to demonstrate how I do my plying. However you decide to do your plying, you need to figure out where you're going to put this. Whether you're going to wind it off onto plying balls and then put those balls like under a bowl or in a bowl or something to contain it. However you do that, there's tons of different ways, okay? And you can, if you want to keep it here on your spindle, you can get a lazy Kate that will work for your spindle. Again, I got a Goulding to go with my Gouldings because these little guys just fit right into these little adapters. So the nice thing about the Goulding is that it comes ready to go with their 3-inch spindles, but then you can get these little adapters that will work for the little tiny little 2-inch spindles, and then also these bigger adapters that will work for the 2 3/4, I think is what size these are. Anyway, doesn't matter. You just need some way to figure out how to wrangle your spun singles so that you can ply them. Now, I don't know that you necessarily have to do this, but it always kind of makes me feel better when I get to the end of my single and I'm going to get ready to ply it. And I left this one kind of big and fluffy to show you. I will go ahead and spin it down to the end of the fiber, and then when I get to the very, very end, the very tip, I go all the way, fluffy, 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 all the way like that to the very end. And then just because knots make me feel more secure, I'll just tie a little knot in the end of it. Again, I don't know that that really helps anything. It's more for my peace of mind than anything. So what we have here are the 2 spindles, and I already did that little knot thing on this one, okay? Now, before you do any plying at all, you got to remember which direction did you originally spin your singles, okay? If you did clockwise, which is a Z-twist, like I talked about in a previous video, then you want to be sure and go counterclockwise when you're spinning a 2-ply yarn. If you were to take these were spun clockwise with a Z-twist. If I were to take these and start spinning them in the same direction, we would end up with just a huge mess. So in order to maintain this original twist and get it to ply together, you have to do it in the opposite direction, which is an S-twist, or in this case, yeah, counterclockwise. If you spun your singles originally counterclockwise, just be sure that you ply them clockwise. Do the opposite. That's the important part. Alrighty, so what I do to start out, again, because knots make me feel secure, whether they really are or not, is I just knot these 2 together. Oops. And it just gives me a nice little starting point there. And then I take my spindle that I'm going to use for plying, which use a heavier spindle if you can. I tried, just for the heck of it, I tried plying some really thin yarn, really, really thin singles with one of my little 2-inch Gouldings once, and it was a fight. I mean, Gouldings will spin forever, but plying is a whole different beast because you're kind of working against the original twist. So you're better off having a heavier spindle for plying. Use your heavy spindle. Okay, and then just to get it going, I'll just hook it where that knot is. We'll just go up underneath the hook. Hopefully, at least, can you see that okay? Okay, so I'm just hooking the knot there over the top, and then I'm going to start spinning it again in the opposite direction that I did my spinning. So I'm going to go counterclockwise. I'll let some twist in here. Now, I don't worry about a leader or anything when I'm spinning, or I'm sorry, when I'm plying on my spindle. Instead, what I do, and this is kind of weird, but just watch me. Hold that like this. And I'll just start roughing it around to secure it. And yeah, now you know my dirty little secret. There's probably a little bit of Lumos spit in every one of my hand spun yarns. Ew, that's not a good selling point. I'm going to shut up now. Okay, so I wrapped it around there. I'm going to remember again that I've got to ply opposite of my spinning direction. Okay, and I'm just, the nice thing about plying is you're not worrying about drafting. You're just worrying about making sure that you, again, are going in the opposite direction of how you spun originally. I can't stress that enough. Simply because my first experience plying, I pretty much just plied every which way and I tried different things, and then I finally realized what I was doing wrong when I had these big fluffy spots that were untwisting. So I'll go out a certain ways, basically as far as I can reach, far as I am tall, not tall, and then I'll just start winding it onto the shaft just like I did when I was spinning the singles. Now this is kind of funky for me because I know what's wrong. I'm doing this backwards of how I usually do. So anyway, if I seem kind of, well, let's see if I can just turn a little bit. Sorry, Elise, I should have thought of this in advance. I need the dog to move. Okay, so again, after you've wound it on, I'm gonna spin it counterclockwise or the opposite direction that I originally spun. Now, if you notice, I've got my fingers in between, keeping those singles apart from each other until I'm ready for them to come together. Okay, and that just started twisting back on itself, so let me wind this up. The reason I do that, the reason I keep my fingers in here, is you see how there are little pigtails? Well, that's a big pigtail. And there's even there's like a little corkscrew right there. You probably can't see it. I don't know. We're doing our best here with our camera work. Anyway, those corkscrews and pigtails, if you don't keep them out of your yarn by doing this and moving your hand along, then they're going to end up in your finished yarn, and you don't want that. Okay, so let me do this a little bit more. See, I'm working those, I'm smoothing out those rough spots as I go. And I get down to where either it stops spinning or it's getting close to stopping spinning. I'll pull it back up and wind it back on. Get it in the little notch and then start it up again. So that's plying. I think the biggest things that I want to stress, I've already stressed don't ply in the same direction as you spun, so I'll shut up about that. The other thing I really want to stress is keeping your two singles separate with that one hand until you've made sure it's smoothed out and there aren't any wonky corkscrews or anything going into your finished yarn. Wind it on. This is actually going to take quite a bit. If you can see how much is still on the spindles, this is going to take a while. So I'm not going to film me doing this the whole... I can't talk at the same time I'm doing things. I'm not going to make you watch me ply for the next half hour. So what I'm going to do is finish this up today, and then in my next video I will show you how I measure. Once this is full of my plied yarn, we'll come back and I'll show you how I measure this out and wind it into a skein and tie the little figure eights in it so that it doesn't tangle up when it's getting its little finish bath. And then we'll do the finish bath and I'll show you how to finish up, I guess. This has been kind of weird because I'm trying to do stuff and talk at the same time, and that's not my forte. So thank you very much, and we'll be back in a little while with some more yarn to look at. Thanks.